Is this thing on? I don't know, but we will find out talking about the new Bradley Cooper movie. I loved it so much. I loved it kind of so much. I'm getting a divorce probably from this movie, but I love it anyway. So, welcome back to the Italian Film Buff podcast. This week, for this episode, we're going to talk about Is This Thing On? It's insane. I'm recording another episode. It's still February, and there is another episode coming. I'm not waiting a month to record a new episode, and I don't know what's happening to my glasses. Something in my eye. Something is attacking me. Anyway, I don't know. Is it something on my glass? Is this thing on? is, are my glasses okay? It's gonna be my next movie, a spoof of Is This Thing On? No, it can be done. But anyway, sorry guys. Okay, it's gone. There was something on my glasses. Anyway, this is why this podcast is so special, because I'm myself beginning to anyway, let's jump into this, because there are so many things happening right now. I wanted to go to the movies last week. I wanted to go to the Lighthouse here in Dublin, and I wanted to see and I wanted to watch Secret Agent. I was super hyped for it, but every show was sold out. So and this week is complex because there is a midterm break for the school. So I have my kids home, and my days are very crazy between work and everything. But anyway, I want to go to the movies. There is even the Jeff Buckley documentary that I love so much. Jeff Buckley, I want to go to check that out. I have a few things that I want to watch, and I want to talk to you about all those stuff. But we'll see. We'll see how it will go. But let's enjoy Is This Thing On? Because I went to watch it. Was I think on before or right after St. Valentine's Day. And I went to watch Is This Thing On? Because I wanted to have a laugh. Because in the last month and a half, everything that I watch, it's basically dramatic or something where you have to think a lot about yourself or stuff like that, or it's an horror in the case of 20 years later, The Bone Temple. So I was like, I want to have a good laugh. Is this movie the kind of movie that will make you laugh? Yes, of course, because it's a sort of a dramedy. Let's talk about it. What is the story? The story is basically loosely based on a British comedian, actually. It's called Bishop. Sorry, I don't know him. John Bishop. Honestly, I never heard about him, but he's very, very famous, and it's loosely based on John Bishop, and they adapted some stuff in the story. For example, they used the Comedy Cellar in New York as one of the main location, as an open mic kind of location, but it doesn't work like that. You can't just have an open mic night at the Comedy Cellar. But let's start from the beginning, because some of you are very confused at this point what the film talks about. So it's loosely based on this British comedian, John Bishop, and basically the story of this guy in his late 40s is getting a divorce, and he's very miserable. Is in his apartment. He rented an apartment in New York, and one night he goes out and he steps outside the place. He wants to have a drink, and the bouncer outside tells him, dude, you gotta pay 15 quid to get in. It was like, why? Because it's an open mic night, so people are here for the comedian, for the night, not just for a drink. And what if I don't want to pay? He asked him, and the guy goes like, well, you have to sign up for the open mic. And he goes like, well, I sign myself up. And so, just to avoid to pay, and this is the part of the story that it's very true, just to avoid to pay the fee to step into the bar, he signed up for the stand-up, and he jumped on the stage. He he started to talk about his marriage. In a way, it was funny. In a way, people were having fun, and he was kind of um, it was liberating for this weight that he has on his chest. And from them, he started to stand up, and it's like a bug. He gets this bug for the stand-up comedy, and then he starts the whole thing. So the movie, it's a dramedy, because in a way, while I was watching, my brain was like, oh, it's like Marriage Story. You know, Marriage Story with by now Noah Baumbach, with Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver. It's basically something like that. It talks about getting a divorce and whatever you loved about the other person and stuff like that, about relationship in a way, and how a relationship can deteriorate, and because of multiple reasons, and sometimes you can fix those reasons, sometimes you can't, sometimes you just get divorced and stuff get bitter. In other case, they don't get bitter, and there is still kind of something there because you love the other person, but you love the best version of that person, not the version that crushed this relationship. And you love the best version of yourself, and not the person that at the same time give his own kind of contribution in order to destroy these relationships. So it's all about that. And but in the middle of this, there is stand up and there is comedy, and I think, I gotta be honest, it's perfect. It's a great idea, and it's a great way to talk about those stuff, because I mean, in the last, I don't know, 10, 15, I would say 10 years, I have this idea with we lost comedy. We have way less comedy in the movie theater. We have way less comedy in television, even if, I gotta be honest, in the last, I don't know, 5 to 6 years, mostly thanks to Apple TV, we have a sort of renaissance of the comedy genre. We have more comedies. Even Scrubs is coming back. I mean, I think we have a need, a necessity to laugh, because we are taking so many things so seriously. Even television, and everything is so serious. Everything is so dramatic. Everything is so meaningful. Nothing will allow you to sit on the couch and just lose yourself in something that will just entertain you and make you laugh while maybe thinking about life and growing and stuff like that. We are missing that part of the entertainment for many different reasons, but anyway, has been gone for a while. And so in the last 10 years, the only kind of the last, what can I say, the last the last place where people can find this sort of safe haven to laugh and to have fun has been stand-up comedy. And many people have been inspired, even in Italy. In Italy, it was something that never, I mean, there are comedians that started stand-up comedy, but in the early 2000s, and there were just a few, they start something, but was very niche. But in the last, let's say, 10 years, things got bigger, and finally stand up is a thing also in Italy. That is a country that traditionally we don't have stand up per se, even the kind of rules of stand up is something like that. And now everybody wants to do stand up because it was the only way. It has been the only way for so many years to find comedy in such a dark place where we are at the moment. Even for entertainment, everything is so serious and so complex. Even this TV series has to be 2000 season with thick and huge episode, and so we really miss that. And I think it's something that we really need. And stand up became so popular because it's a way to face tragedy. If you even look at so many stand-up comedians like Trevor Noah. I'm reading his book just right now. It's it was written a long time ago, but it's called Born a Crime. I knew he wrote a book, but I never read it. I finally reading it, and it's brilliant. It's fantastic. It talks about some tragic shit, but in a funny way. And it's so you laugh, but at the same time you go like, "Oh Jesus, poor guy." And some stuff that he says, I feel a connection because some stuff I really relate to, and some stuff I don't because I didn't grow up in South Africa during apartheid. So, hey, I'm lucky. He was not, but anyway, even if we went through so many difficult things, he came out as a brilliant man, a brilliant comedian, and he used comedy to entertain other people, but I think even to heal himself a little bit. And I think what Ricky Gervais said multiple times, it's very true. If you can laugh in the face of adversity, you are bulletproof. And it's so true. And this is what happens to Alex, the character played by Will Arnett. I think he's brilliant in the movie, but we're going to talk about that. And that's what happened to him organically. And I think it's part of the brilliance of the movie that there is not a big build up, a complex build up to why stand-up comedy it's like an option when you are in such a dark place, and how good could be for a person in such a dark place. It's not working a lot to build that up. It's not very complex. It's very organic. Also because the true story of John Bishop is like that. So why build up on that? Why don't just follow that very true but also very intuitive way to convey stand up and what it is and what it can be? I think it's brilliant. It's brilliant that in the screenplay written by Arnett, Bradley Cooper, and Mark Chappell, they found a good way to live it this story very raw, and in this way I think it works very well. Because I mean, they could have been kind of building a thesis about an essay in movie, and that would be a big mistake. That would have been a big mistake about what comedy is and what stand-up comedy is. But instead, they let the story talk, and the story talks very loudly, because you see this guy, he's desperate. Will Arnett is broken. I love the fact that a guy like Will Arnett, that it's a, a very good comedian. I love him. I love him so much. He makes me laugh. People knows him for BoJack Horseman, so many people will see. Well, having Will Arnett in a dramatic role, it's not that. It's not a big surprise. Yes, but there he was dubbing a character. It was just doing voiceover. Here he has to be beside Laura Dern. I mean, Laura Dern is one of the greatest artists and actress of her generation. She's fantastic. She worked with amazing directors. She worked through insane difficult scene. I mean, she managed to be insane in Inland Empire, and I think Inland Empire, it's one of those I mean, her role in Inland Empire, it's one of those roles that will crack a bad actor. I mean, we'll just put the spotlight on a bad actor, but she's so good and she nails it so well. She's fantastic. Half of the movie, it's because Laura Dern exists. I mean, she's amazing. And he is with her on screen, and he's the main character with her, and he managed to be good with her, and it's not an easy job. And what I like is that, I mean, when we talk about divorce, I mean, I was born in 1987, so I grew up at the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s, and the kind of male figure that we picture in our head, because what we had around, what we saw in movies, what we read in literature. I saw it happen to my parents as well. But when men from another generation, they get divorced, they get very pathetic very fast. Back then was a kind of a wasn't seen as something pathetic, but it was kind of. So a man of another generation that get divorced usually goes down a very pathetic kind of road. They get manly in a stupid way, so they dye their hair, and they seems even older with with the dyed hair. They dye their hair as black as the night, and it's ridiculous. They start to ride motorcycle, or they buy a sports car. They want to go with younger women. It's needy and tragic how men turns. They try to go back in time, and it's so sad, and it's so over the top, and it's so a desperate scream to reaffirm their masculinity, and it's very sad, and they get bitter sometimes. But it's no longer the case. It's no longer the case. There's a new generation of men, and when they get divorced, they don't do very well. They don't do better than the previous generation. I gotta be honest. I think, my opinion, they do better than the previous generation. They don't get because the other road is getting alcoholic and pathetic in a different way, and very sad in a bad way sometimes. But anyway, uh, the new generation, they get sad, they suffer, and that's what happened to Alex in the movie, the character played by Will Arnett. He's not. I mean, the movie starts with them doing something very easily, very kind of not easy, but very kind of common. She's brushing her teeth before going to bed. He's in the shower before going to bed. He came out, and they kind of quietly and with a total nonchalance, they said, well, we should kind of call it. They're splitting up. He has to move out, but you can see that he's in pain. They go out with friends, they go to dinner with other couple, and you see a couple that is completely kind of fine, but the other couple, where one of them is Bradley Cooper, and the other actor, sorry, I don't remember her name. Oh my god, it is cast. Let's check it out super quickly. Andra Day, I think this is the correct pronunciation, Andra Day. But anyway, they are struggling as well, in a different way. By the way, the character played by Bradley Cooper, I love his entrance, the way he the way they present Bradley himself, because he's the director and the writer. So the way he present the character is so funny, and it works because you knows right away who he is. You know right away what kind of character. There is no, you don't need many lines. You don't need big background stories. You know right away what kind of character he is, and it's perfect. It just needs a couple of seconds and it clicks. But anyway, they go out with friends, and Laura Dern is very over the top. It's you understand that she is going through the lie, not easily, but with a little bit of how can I say this? She has anger, and he calls him oh darling, and later on he goes like, hey, you never call me darling. That was too much over the top. Yeah, that was too much over the top. But anyway, she's faking that they are okay, but it's pretty clear that they are kind of not okay. And the character played by Will Arnett, he just kind of gets along with it. Is not very happy. You understand that he's suffering. He's conscious that they made mistake, but he's kind of conscious that he loves the other person, that he admires the other person. He knows he has done something wrong, but at the same time he knows that he's not the only one that has done something wrong. And there are the scene where he's in the car and he's thinking about his kids, the fact that he's not in his own, putting the kids to sleep. And he's not okay with that. Not because he's losing a social status, but because he's losing his life and his family as something that he loved and cherished. And you can understand that he's in pain. And the reason why he ends up in that comedy club is because he needs a way to talk about this. And when you are in your late 40s, or anyway close to your 40s, lose friends, lose close relationship, and friends that you can talk to about those stuff, it's very easy. And it happens all the time. And sometimes you don't want to go to talk about, oh, back in the days, all those movies, they had a scene with a shrink or with somebody, and that's not how it works. Some people, they just don't feel okay with that, or some people, they just don't have chance to do that, and they are not okay with that, and they need something else. They need a friend, they need something to 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 attach to, something to do. And he finds, by chances, stand-up comedy. And stand-up comedy, it's amazing because, as I was saying before, you have a sort of a essay about what stand-up comedy is. It could be just watching the movie and following the story, because he's in pain, he's suffering. But if you can laugh, if you can just talk about it and you can laugh and you can find a sort of a silver lining about everything that's bothering you, everything that it's annoying you, you take that thing, you take that pain and you turn it into something that can be funny. As Gervais said, you're bulletproof. And he does that. And as soon as he step on that stage and he starts to talk and people start to respond with laughter, he understands what's going on. And comedy, it's like that. A good comedian knows that he has to be the jester, the butt of the joke, and the worst person of the stage. And that he has to kind of have something not miserable per se, but something that, some dark place where he's going to dig and taste stuff and play with them and fiddle with them in order to make stuff funny. Because in that way you can cope with everything that's happening, and you can not just cope but respond to everything that's happening, and you can keep living. That's what it does. And he understands right away the logic behind this. And he started to joke about getting a divorce. You can see this scene in the trailer. He's on stage and he goes like, well, I think I'm getting a divorce. And I think the biggest clue was that I'm living in my own apartment and my kids and wife are living in the house that I bought and I'm not with them. It's very fun in the way it's put, but without knowing it, he has found a way by himself to make comedy out of this. And this is stand-up comedy. It's pure stand-up comedy. Of course, you don't have miserable to make stand-up comedy, but there is something, as I said before, that it's bugging you, it's annoying you, something about the word. Any form of art, movies, music, an artist is someone that looks at the word, sees something that it bugs him or he doesn't like, or he thinks it's unfair. And it could be anything, could be politics, could be I don't know, a line before boarding a plane, can be anything, can be any subject, and you can just talk about it and talk about people and talk about society and talk about the word, and from that point build something to a greater kind of thesis about the word you're around. In a way, stand-up comedian on different level, of course, because there are comedians that are more innocent, like I think I don't know, Jerry Seinfeld. He talks about very common stuff, everyday stuff. He's more kind of innocuous in a way. He's not an harsh comedian, but there are stand-up comedians that are more interesting, and they are sort of philosopher of the modern age, but they go through comedy. You take Carlin, for example. Carlin was talking about society. It was very I mean, he had ideas and thoughts that were very modern compared to the age where he was from, where he was talking about those stuff. And you watch some of his material now, and it's still relevant, and it's still amazing, and it's still funny today, because it's more like sort of philosophy unfolding. And Will Arnett, his character Alex Novak, this is the name of the character, he basically start to unfold this thing that he has in his chest about comedy, about his divorce, but also about his family, because there is a part of the movie we see different sets, different open mics that he has made, that he makes before he actually has his shot to be in an actual comedy night with other comedians that are already comedians. And in one of those open mic, he talks about his parents, and his parents are two very important character. One is played by Keenan Hines, and the other one, she's I think is on don't remember if it's Amy Serdaris or Christine Ebersole. I don't remember who she's. Sorry about that. I'm very sorry about that. But anyway, it's the third marriage, the marriage of his parents, of Alex Novak parents, Will Arnett parents. It's the other one that it's under scrutiny. It's a marriage from another generation, but you see the dynamic into that relationship as well, that marriage as well. We check those out, and we see a relationship, and we see how his father perceived the relationship, and how his mother perceived the relationship, and how I mean, in a way you can understand even the dynamic there, even in the conflict that there is in that relationship. The mother is more disingenuous about some stuff. She doesn't realize some stuff. She thinks she has the upper hand in the relationship, and she knows so many stuff. But then you understand that the husband, Keenan Hines, he's very aware of some stuff. He's just letting them slide. So there are those dynamics in relationship, and sometimes are bad because you should talk to the other person. I mean, something that we do now, that we understood more the importance of being open and talk to the other person, but another generation doesn't get it, and they don't get it, and they don't do that. They just do stuff silently, kind of. Sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's good. And we still do that because the relationship between Will Arnett and Laura Dern is very modern. But anyway, we get on that. He has a set in the open mic night, and he talks about his parents and what they have done when he was a kid, and the way they behave. And the parents are an amazing character. They are fantastic in the movie, because they are unhinged in a way, because they don't get this idea of stand-up comedy. They think, oh my god, you had such a miserable life, we didn't knew that. And they kind of took pity out of him, out of Will Arnett's character. But it's not the case. He's kind of elaborating through comedy his life. It's nothing bad, it's healthy in a way. But anyway, they're kind of, oh, we didn't knew what's going on. It's face, it's like a middle life crisis or something like that. And it's so funny what they do with those characters. But anyway, I loved the way, as I was saying at the beginning, as a sort of a comedic version of Marriage Story, but with multiple couple, without the bitterness of the divorce, and with just the human side. Because usually when you see those movies, they are very bitter. There is a lot of conflict in those movies. There's a lot of bitterness, and you try always to kind of find who's on the right side and who's on the wrong. You always try to pick a side, but in this case there is no side to pick. Even if you can, I mean, if you want to take a side, if you want to pick a side, if you want to pick the side of Will Arnett, you can. If you want to take the side of Laura Dern, you can. It's kind of more difficult, I think, till a certain part of the movie. But anyway, it doesn't matter, because the point is not that there is one side that is wrong and one side that is right. I think that the message is that relationships are very complex, and sometimes, as I was saying before, both sides have made mistake. And as Dr. Cox says in Scrubs, I still remember this episode where there is the whole thing about the psychiatric talking to the different member of the hospital. There is all the whole dynamic between JD and Elliot, and then Dr. Cox that kind of wrap up the meaning of the episode. But the thing is this. In relationships, sometimes, I mean, doesn't matter who did something wrong or who did something. Doesn't matter which one in the couple did something wrong. Doesn't matter which one did the worst thing in that situation. But usually, that's what Dr. Cox says, and I think it's very true. And I think it's also what this movie is all about. In the dynamic of the couple that lost, usually one of the two, finds the strength to fight for their relationship. They find a way to say, okay, it doesn't matter. I mean, we gotta face this, but I don't gonna let this relationship get bitter. I will not allow this relationship to fall apart, just staying silent. And that's what happened, because the character of Will Arnett, through stand-up, he start to think about his life, think about his relationship. And in a way, what I love about the movie is that the dynamic is that both character, in the moment they split up, they take away the element of the relationship that wasn't working. And the element was not we are together. The element was like the way we are together. And each one of them, in the second they are apart, they find themselves again. And in the way they find themselves again, that it's totally new, and in a way, in another way it's not, they get better. They get better at loving each other. And in a way, Will Arnett character, he finds the key eventually. I'm not gonna spoil the movie and what's going on, but he kind of find a key to the relationship and to life itself in a way. Stand-up comedy becomes a way to elaborate and to process, because when you vocalize your thoughts, when you start to take a piece of paper and start to write jokes, in a way, it jokes about his life and his relationship. In a way, you are elaborating and you are thinking and you're processing. And in that way, he finds a way to keep living life. And I think that's brilliant. I think that was the most brilliant part of the whole thing. As I was saying, it's like an essay on stand-up without huge monologue, without a moment built or forced on the movie to lecture you about comedy and stand-up. Just follows the flow of the story, and through those characters and through the story makes you understand a little bit more what stand-up is all about. And I loved it. And I love as well that he does this going through relationship, the idea of relationship falling apart or having trouble, and elaborating on that. And I think it was brilliant. And I think it's a movie that it's funny in so many ways. There are so many moments that are funny. There are funny the stand-up pieces. And I heard an interview with Will Arnett where he said that basically he never did stand-up. He's not a stand-up comedian. He's a comedy actor, and that's it. He was arrested in Arrested Development and all the stuff, and he's a comedy actor, and he's good at improvising and stuff like that, but he's not trained to step on a stage with material and talk. And so what he has done is that he started to go into clubs, open mics, and try out this thing, and he started to get used to it in a way. So he started to elaborate on that, and he was saying that he started to kind of get the feeling of go on a stage and do stand up. And I think in the movie is good. I mean, you don't have to do that because we had Mrs. Maisel. Oh my God, Mrs. Maisel! It's one of the best TV show ever made, I think, and it's one. Speaking of comedy, but also not comedy, and I think it's one of the best performance. Speaking of comedy in a TV show, because Rachel Brosnan, when she's not a comedian, she's an actress, but the way she owned the material written by Palladino, Amy Sherman Palladino, she's fantastic both in directing and writing. I believe that's my thoughts. I think she's brilliant. But anyway, in the way she owns the material written by the Palladino, it's amazing. It's beyond me how she managed to do that. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to get in mid shoes and dresses and comedy routine. It was super difficult. And she did it. And Will Arnett, he did the extra mile to try to be like an actual stand-up comedian, to try and see what's the fuss is all about. But anyway, he succeeded. I think he's very great in the movie, both in the dramatic part than in the comedic part. I'm gonna say the only moment where there is a kind of very dramatic part, it's a little bit at the beginning. There are moments of it because you can understand the place where this character is, but are just very very small parentheses. But then, of course, before the second act, at the end of the second act, before the third act, you have something very kind of dramatic in a way, and that breaks comedy, and in a way teach him a lesson about comedy and about what he's doing. But anyway, it's very good. He's very good. Laura Dern, she's fantastic. I love her because she managed in this movie to be a character that you can love, but a character that you can't hate at the same. Not hate. It's maybe a strong word, but and you kind of do not fully embrace the place where she's coming from. And not because there is no consideration for the character. There's a good consideration for the character. I think she has a good reasons in the relationship to be upset. And of course, it's a good character, and I love it. But the way she owns it, the way she managed to, through her acting, because it's not like that it's written on the page, it's something that you do through acting. Because I'm 100% sure that the same character given to another actress, the result would be completely different. But anyway, Laura Dern, the way she acts this character, gives you the feeling that in a way, the feeling for Tess, this is the name of the character, the feeling that you have for Tess are kind of bipolar, because you understand why Alex, Will Arnett, he loves her, why he fell in love with her, why she's so magnetic and interesting and powerful. but at the same time, you don't get why um, she has some moment where she snaps and she becomes this person that takes on the people she has beside her instead of fighting against whatever it's outside the relationship that it's bugging her. She's kind of taking on the people close instead of the word. So I don't know. I had this kind of feeling. She sometimes she's unfair, not to the character of Will Arnett, but she's unfair because she's not taking the high road of facing the problem and using the people beside, using the people that's the person that's standing beside her as a safe place. She's using him like a sort of a, I'm not telling you what's going on, but you gotta fix this. You gotta absorb everything. You're like my stress ball in a way. I don't know how to explain that, but I love the character, and I love this bipolar kind of um, feeling that you have towards this character. That's it's an amazing character. As I said, she's not in the wrong, she's not in the right. Those character, both of them, they are not totally in the wrong, they are not totally in the right. It's complex because relationship between people are. And I I I love the movie, to be honest. I'm still kind of not 100% sure if I love it completely. I will need to rewatch it because so far, I gotta be honest, so far, I think that Bradley Cooper has done a brilliant job. I'm very sorry, to be honest, that he doesn't get a recognition for Maestro. I think Maestro was a good movie. I think he did a very good job with Maestro. I don't think he is as forgettable or bad as many says. I think it's a very good movie. Uh, the problem probably is that I don't know. It's not that kind of movie that it's so magnetic that you will kind of keep going back to watch it because it's so fascinating. I don't know, but anyway, I don't know what it is. It has been a while. I can't put my finger on it at the moment. But I think that every time he steps behind the camera, it's always very interesting. I think it is the case. I think he has something to say as a director, and I like it. And this movie, it's very different from Maestro, and it's very different from A Star Is Born. Here we have so many shots with where it just the camera stays very close to the character. He decide in some cases to stay very close to Will Arnett, to follow him, to move the camera around him, and he has the steady step very close, and then he goes far back. I like what he's doing with this movie, and I think he's able to choose a way. The mise en scene of this movie, I think he chose a specific way to put the movie on scene because he understands that this is not Maestro and this is not A Star Is Born. So, for example, in many cases, he has the steady and stay close to Will when he jumps on the stage at the comedy club for the first time, and you understand the embarrassment, you understand the pressure, you understand that the character kind of doesn't belong there, but he belongs. You're kind of in a way inside his mind, even if you're watching him from outside. It's like if you are you are getting this close gives you an idea that you are so connected to him, so close to him, that you can basically um, relate to him in another level. because you're crowded inside his mind, inside his private space. And it works very well. And in the same way it works very well when he has those very close conversation with Laura Dern. They stay very close. You go always like, they're gonna kiss. You're gonna like. There is this vibrance when they talk to each other. Doesn't matter if they are arguing or if they are kind of talking it through, but you can feel the electricity, and it's very good. Because, for example, at the beginning of the movie, there is a distance between them. At the beginning of the movie, you can understand that where the relationship is thanks to the way he directs the movie. Because at the beginning, he's in a shower, so on another level, he's on the he's right close to the camera, he's far back. They are you can see them through the mirror, but they are far away. They are outside the kids' room. There is a kind of a distance. Will Arnetti try to stay close, but she keeps him kind of away. And the camera as well, the way they are framed, it's from a distance. It's a long shot. But then, as the movie progresses, as the relationship change, because even when they go to the friend's house, they are on the couch, you have this shot of them. They are one next to another, but it's like they have their own shots. We see her, we see him, we see them together, but they are always far away. When they go to, what is Penn Station? Central Station? Penn Station? What is called the train station? Anyway, when they go to the train station, it's a long shot, it's a medium shot. They are far away, they don't get too close, and with the story moving forward, they get closer. And they are closer on scene, but also with the camera work, they are always close, and you're close to them because it's a sort of an intrusion into a conversation that is between them, but you are kind of inside Will Arnett character, or you are very close to him anyway. It's like if you are like his confidant, or if you are like another side of his personality. And I love that. I love when director take those decisions. It's not like it was invented by Bradley Cooper. I'm just talking about it and why I like it specifically in this movie, because it gives you that level of okay, I'm totally involved into this. It's not like I'm watching from far away. Like Marriage Story gives you always a distance between you and the character, and you are like witnessing this story unfold, and you feel bad, you feel resentment, you feel rage, you feel many different emotion, and there is an attachment given by the situation, by it's edited by other stuff, even the way is the mise-en-scene works, the way the dynamic work in a different way. But in this case, since it's a comedy or it's a dramedy, the feeling it's very different. And the things that I love about this movie, it's something that along the way with comedy and sometimes with dramedy, we kind of lost. So the grammar of the cinema. What I always complained in the early 2000s and moving forward is that I understood that for Hollywood comedy, rom comedy, they were kind of an easy buck. Okay, I totally understand that. I understand that you make a comedy, it's a silly comedy or a rom comedy. Now is no longer the case, but for the people who remember the cinema from early 2000, movies like Notting Hill, stuff like that, all movie that comes from When Harry Met Sally. Basically, that movie was in a way, the sort of the movie that kick off an entire season for generation and decades of romantic comedy. But instead of the choices that Rob Reiner made in that movie that made him so special, moving forward, those movies were so lazy. They start to become lazy. Even comedy, not just romantic comedy. Even comedy start to become lazy. If you check out even a movie like The Naked Gun, or even movie by Mel Brooks, uh, or I don't know, there are so many comedy from John Landis, for example, a maestro of comedy, and he made so very great comedy, and he's a master director in some movies. Let's think about just the Blues Brothers. It's also a musical, but anyway, the director is insane. Even in Naked Gun, the first movie is very well directed. I mean, it's by the Zucker, I think, the one of the Zucker is very well directed, and it's very well built. The photography, the framing. Moving forward, this thing just was gone. At some point, it was gone. In fact, when I saw Booksmart by Olivia Wilde, it's clearly sort of. I knew that she got mad when people say that, but it's kind of true. It's very true. Booksmart is sort of a Gen Z version of Superbad. There's nothing you can do. It's the exact same movie, for the love of God. It's the exact same movie, but for a new generation. And it's perfect because a new generation needed that movie because so many things changed. And it's a good movie. It's a very good movie. And it's brilliantly directed. The things that I love the most in that movie is that it's not lazy. It's very well directed. And Bradley Cooper did the same for this movie. It's not because it's a comedy, so you have to be lazy when you direct it. It's a comedy. Okay, we get it, but you gotta direct it well. You gotta shoot it properly. You gotta think about your mise en scene. You gotta think about your character. You gotta think about how you decide to use the camera. You want the camera, you want to use a steady, you want to hold the camera, you want to move around, you gotta do I don't know, a one or whatever. Pick some decision that are the best fit for whatever you're trying to shoot. So I think he did an amazing job thinking about that. I think he did a good job, and I love it. Honestly, when a director, for the love of God, even for comedy, they take artistic decision like this, I love it. I love it. Maybe they're wrong, maybe they're right. I don't care. In this case, I think they're okay. And not they're okay. They're good. I love them. But I'm glad they are there. I'm glad he picked some decision. I'm glad he decided to go for a specific mise en scene for different part of the movie. And it's fantastic. I loved it. The only doubt that I had, and I'm gonna rewatch this movie as soon as I can have a DVD, Blu-ray, or whatever, is that, I mean, the way the story moved forward, it's kind of, how can I say that? Because I'm gonna use a wrong word, okay? It's kind of unconventional, okay? Because even the way the act are divided and the way the movie moves forward, it's kind of weird, speaking of writing and stuff like that, in a sense that it's not that kind of movie where you perceive so clearly, this is the first act, this is the second act, this is the last act. I mean, you detect, you understand them, but it's not like they are very kind of from the most basic screenwriter books. It's not that kind of movie if you expect that. A very easy to read movie. The movie moved forward in a way that at some point it looks like it's Alex Novak's journal of jokes. What I mean is that he moves on without following a line. Sometimes he skips stuff, and it skips stuff not because there is a problem with the plot that they don't like match. It's just like, it's like stand up in a way. So you have a roadmap. You want to go from point A to point B. You have a thesis that you are building through your stand-up piece. But at the same times, I don't know. You step on a stage talking about that you are divorcing, and are gonna finish your set about, I don't know, how fucked up is an entire generation with dealing with, I don't know, climate change. I don't know what. I'm just making an example because I don't have a specific example uh, 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 in mind. But anyway, it's like, it's not pointless, it's not uh, deranged, that it's just running all over the place. It's not that. It has a point A, a point B. It goes from point A to point B, but it's like stand up. It's more, it flows the story. It's not straightforward as a line. And in a way, it's a good thing, at least to me. I like that because uh, as a person that grew up following that 2000 wave of movie comedy and romantic comedy, the basic rule of screenwriting 101, so first act, second act, third act, were followed so in a pedantic way that was so annoying that I think that the fall the fallout of the comedy and romantic comedy as a genre, comedy had a different set of problem, but let's talk about romantic comedy. I think the fallout of the genre was that the movie were so connected and dependent from that structure and was so readable for the audience that at some point people got bored because it was so obvious and it was so naive and it was so and more of the same. And at some point they start to turn into something very bonkers to justify those three acts and to move them forward, and most of the time were very all of the more of the same, that people just fell off. At some point people were like, I can't take this anymore, and they just fell off the thing and the whole thing collapsed. uh, Also because there were actors that were constantly in rom-coms, like Meg Ryan. I think Meg Ryan, she was in that 1000 romantic comedy, and Matthew McConaughey was in a couple of, not so many, because he stepped from the role that Hollywood was trying to cage him, like typecasting kind of role, but he didn't that many romantic comedy. He was one of the guy that was starting to be, oh, if there is a romantic comedy, Matthew McConaughey is there. He was starting to be that guy, but he ran away as fast as he could from that, and he did well, gladly. But anyway, you know what I mean. It was something too pedantic the way it was followed. This movie is not exactly like that. It's more like stand up, as I said, and I'm glad it is like that. And but still, there is something that I can't put my finger on, that by the end of the movie I was like, I don't know. If you have to ask me right away, you like the movie, I'm gonna say yeah, but I won't have a big enthusiasm for it. I don't know if you know what I mean. It's not that kind of movie that beginning to an end, to the end, you are on board with it fully and you laugh or you cry through the whole thing without catching a break, and then you leave the theater and go like, oh wow, that scene was fantastic, that moment was fantastic. You just go through it, and there are moments and there are things that you like, things that you love, things that you hate, but it's not, there is something that it's not clicking. I don't know what it is. At the moment, I really don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on something specific because there are so many things that I like. And so I don't know if it's a success. As I don't know if this is the right expression. It's a movie that works. I gotta be honest. It works. I love it. I enjoy it. I think Laura Dern was amazing. I think Will Arnett was amazing. I think Bradley Cooper in it was amazing as well. I think he did a good job as a director. Um, I think I would love to see more movie like that in the general structure, but I don't know. There is something probably about the writing as well, the structure of the story, that it's not working as it's supposed to. Even if, even the ending, I loved how they decided to end the movie, because it's a sort of a high note that is not an high note. It's sort of a bittersweet high note. I don't know. I don't want to tell you what is the ending. I mean, what has he done with the ending, because I don't want to spoil the movie for whoever hasn't watched it. But the decision that he takes with the music, with the song, with that ending, it's a kind of a decision that makes sense. Even thinking about how the movie started and how the movie is ending, it makes sense, but at the same time I appreciate what he has done with the music, but at the same time I think it represents very well the movie. It's not crazy that you fell in love with him, with it. You go like, oh wow, that's a bang. That's a bang. That's a bang to leave the to end the how to end the movie with a bang. That's it. That's it. You don't go like that. You just go as missing something. But it's on purpose. And then you gotta figure out, this decision made on purpose, it works or it doesn't. That's the whole thing, because of course when you make a movie you take creative decision on purpose. It's not like it just by accident. You make some decision on purpose, and you gotta and it's not, some people say, oh, but that was done on purpose. Oh, of course it was done on purpose, but you gotta understand if it's the fact that it's made on purpose makes sense or not. I mean, people, just to keep it light, people do very moronic thing on purpose because they think about doing those stuff and then they act and they do it, but it's not because it's on purpose it makes sense. I don't know if you catch what I'm trying to say. He did it on purpose. I mean, he drank bleach because he thought it was okay. He did it on purpose. Well, it was stupid. Then he went to the hospital. I mean, I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Did it on purpose. Yeah, well, we gotta figure it out if it was a good decision or a bad decision. That's what I can put my finger on. It's something that I will figure it out at some point when I will rewatch the movie at some point in time. But anyway, Bradley Cooper did a good job. Will Arnett was amazing. Laura Dern was amazing. I like the movie. I don't know if it's one of the strong contender for the best movie of the year so far. It's February. it's very early to say, but anyway, it was a good movie to watch, and I like Bradley Cooper. Keep doing stuff. Keep doing stuff because you are very interesting, Mr. Bradley Cooper. I like you as an actor and as a director as well. So, guys, boys, girls, people getting a divorce. This was this episode for the Italian film buff. I hope you enjoyed. It was kind of crazy, but well, it's finally out there. We made a big discussion about comedy movies, and that's what it is. This podcast, I talk about stuff and I talk endlessly about stuff. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your day, your evening, your afternoon, your morning, your breakfast, whatever you're doing. If you like what you're listening to, subscribe, vote it, comment it. If you want to share thoughts about the movie, leave a comment. I'm here to talk with you.